Yo, my peoples, what's up? Welcome to the One Stop Co-op Shop podcast and the Shelf Stories YouTube channel, the channel that tells tales from games, books, and life. I am your host, Jason. Thank you so much for stopping by to this more chats with more friends. Very excited. The guest of honor, you see him on the bottom there. He's coming from his home in Nashville, Tennessee. He is the founder and CEO of Van Ryder Games and the designer of the game that we're going to talk about today, which is Hostage Negotiator with the career expansion. This is Mr. AJ Porfirio. Welcome to the show.
Hey, everybody. Thanks for having me, Jason. Appreciate it.
Veteran of Every Night is Game Night, back my old podcast. I was on there a couple times to promote his games. Had to have him on. I'm going through the Rolodex, baby. Everybody that was on the old show can come on and promote the new stuff. And joining me is Michael Kelly from the One Stop Co-op Shop. What's up, Mike?
Hey, good to be here again.
Michael Kelly did cover Hostage Negotiator career on the channel, a very positive review. Spoiler alert, very positive review from me as well. At this point, it's not a secret. I did put my review on the Dice Tower, gave it a seal of excellence. It absolutely deserves it. But I had some questions.
Yeah, bring it. Let's do this.
I shouldn't say but. 8.5 seal of excellence. I absolutely meant that. And I'm going to talk about just non-spoiler. So the first part of this podcast is going to be non-spoiler. We're mostly going to get into career because I think Hostage Negotiator came out 4 years ago. I think we've done that. We actually did a podcast on that one. But I want to just kind of fast forward a little bit. But then there's going to be a spoiler cut. Mm-hmm. And then there's going to be an after show where we talk about like a full spoilers and all that kind of stuff. And then I get to ask some questions.
All right. So, looking forward to it.
I already know what they're about, too.
Michael knows where I'm going. I want to get people excited to just stay tuned for the after show because we're going to have a discussion, sir. Anyway, but before we do that, let's go ahead and do some promo. So this is a combined effort. I am very happy to have joined fully the One Stop Co-op Shop. I will be making playthrough videos through the One Stop Co-op Shop and joining their family. All right. And also podcasting here. So we are definitely expanding our reach. And also, this will have happened a couple of weeks ago as we recorded. One Stop Co-op Shop did reach 20,000 subscribers.
That's right. Literally today,
that's crazy.
As of this recording. And it was weird because we were I'm doing a video this weekend, and I thought I had a few more days, but then the subscribers went up a lot faster than I thought they would. So, yeah, just the internet conspired against me. But it's very cool. So thanks everybody.
Congrats.
We appreciate it.
It's absolutely a lot of quality content on there. Shelf Stories is banging there at 480 subscribers.
Dude, that's amazing. For how recently you started, that is awesome.
I am really happy about that. And I've kind of made it my talking head channel, so I'm really looking forward to kind of blowing that out with the conversations like this, and also my Shelf Help series, which is focused on mental health. So please go ahead and hit subscribe and like if you like those things. AJ, though, we were just complimenting him on the beautiful Van Ryder website. So if you go to Van Ryder website, it is one of the best in-game stores or in-website stores you're going to see. So AJ, before we get going, let's say here's some promo. You got some stuff coming up. This will actually be coming out in December. I think I have this down for. Or I think it's in December. So it'll be a little bit past Black Friday, but you will have some, Christmas deals and production stuff
throughout the sort of holiday season. So if this is coming out after Black Friday, definitely keep going to the website because there will probably be some pre-Christmas sales and holiday sales and things of that nature.
Man, AJ, I see this giant pledge for Final Girl before your time runs out button over here.
Yeah.
And, a little spoiler because I'm doing my my top Kickstarter video in December for all the Kickstarters I've covered this year. And I've covered, oh my gosh, man, 30 or 40 of them. And Final Girl, I haven't finalized my list yet. The Final Girl is in the top 3, so
all right,
it has a shot at number 1.
And it is. The time is now starting to get a little bit short in terms of going to late pledge. So if you're hearing this at the beginning of December, we are definitely going to, at minimum, leave it running through the end of the year. So you'll at least have through December. After that, I can't make any guarantees. It's just all going to depend on how production's going. We'll probably actually need to finalize quantities before then. So if we get to a point where we've pre-sold a certain amount and we need, the rest for sort of retail, we'll cut it off. But definitely we'll leave it up through the end of the year, and then beyond that, as long as we can.
All right. So Final Girl is the second iteration Hostage Negotiator with a board. And we've done preview series, and you'll hear a lot more about Final Girl coming up. But we are talking about the predecessor product, Hostage Negotiator, which came out in 2017. And we are talking about the career expansion. So this is the culminating product, right? And I guess my first question was, how early in the Hostage Negotiator life cycle did you conceive of wrapping everything up with a career type campaign expansion?
Pretty early on. I love narrative games, and I love games that tell stories. And so even from the beginning, I kind of had my full vision, but at the time, solo only games were almost unheard of.
Yeah, there was only 2 outlets. I think Ant Lab covered it. At that because I remember watching that playthrough. Ricky Royal, maybe, I don't remember that.
Yeah, Ricky Royal definitely did. He actually did something for our Kickstarter, I really thought the best avenue to go was to have an accessible, low cost game, and we actually. We'll get complaints from time to time that there's not enough abductors in the base game and all this stuff. But I really think the decision to use that model, which was to have a few in the base game and then have abductor packs people could expand as much or as little as they wanted to, was the right way to go. As opposed to trying to jam 10 abductors worth of content in the box, and now it's $50, $60 game, especially back then, where a solo only game wasn't really heard of. And I just felt like people might be a little shy to spend a lot of money on that. So that was the decision we made, and I think it was the right one. But again, we do get that complaint sometimes where people feel like, I think you might have even mentioned it, Jason, where maybe having a little bit more in the base game would have been nice. But and that's fair. It's a fair comment. But my feeling on it was, well, you can spend $25, and if you don't like it, you're fine. Versus if we put a bunch of stuff in there, it's a bigger entry price. And you don't like it, then you spend a little more to figure that out.
I think my specific thing, because there's 3 abductors in there, right? There's the really basic one, Arcane Musso, who basically just stands there. He's boarded eye. And then you have the Donna Scarborough, who starts at threat level 2, so it's like soothe and save. It's like yelling at you, soothe and save. And then there's the other one that is Edward Quinn, who you have to get a bunch of conversation points for. You don't have to, but the thing. So it's it's almost very instructional. Not only are there very few objectives, they're very instructional. So they're almost solvable. If you know what you're doing.
Yeah. Yes. People who get really good at the game can beat those abductors a high percentage of the time. But with the variance of the terror deck and dice, nothing is.
Yeah, you won't get to 100%. Absolutely not
solvable. But sure, yeah, you could definitely get good enough at the game where you are winning a high percentage of the time.
Mm-hmm. And then from there, the abductor packs and everything. So then, I guess, so career came pretty early. And to be clear, we should probably say what career is.
Yeah.
Before we get into that, I just realized we haven't explained it. Go ahead, AJ. Tell us about.
Yeah. No. So career is essentially an overarching campaign for Hostage Negotiator, where you are going to play 10 years in the life of a hostage negotiator. And it has story, a lot of sort of choose your own adventure style story moments where you're given a choice and you can select one or the other. And those choices that you make are going to define yourself as a negotiator, how your career is going. The main things you're tracking in the game are your stress levels. You have career stress and personal stress. You're also trying to get promoted, so you have a merit level. So you're managing all these things, and there's a story that tells itself over the course of the 10 years campaign. And it's you guys, Mike, you're especially really fast. You probably have finished the campaign in 3 hours. For most people, I think it's 4 to 6 hours to get through a campaign, especially if you're new to the system. But if you know the system really well, you could move through it pretty quickly.
I will
I
admit
like to
I
break it.
cheated. So what I did was I played the first, I think, 3 or 4 games with the abductors out of the app. And the app
Okay.
just takes it like it's so quick to get
Yeah.
through those like first few. It's like, okay, like I'm done in 3 minutes, and then I'll go back to the cards, read it, and then load it back up. Once I started getting the ... which we're not going to spoil, then I had to go back to the play map. But I was able to kind of cut a few corners there.
Yeah.
And make it to at least year 5.
That's valid. That's a valid way. But yeah, once you start getting statuses and different things, the app doesn't
Right.
handle those things.
So and Mike, jump in any time, but I think so. Let's get into how you did career. So then, I think overall, my I think my conclusion from or one of the things I said in the Dash Dive video was, you have these 2 ways of telling stories that are occurring simultaneously, right? So like there is the track, right? There is the deck of cards 1 to 10. And they're random, but like they arc, so it's like like the first half ish is going to be, oh, you're in training and you're following somebody, and then you go on, and then towards like year 6, 7, 8, 9, now we're like, we're in our mid career and we're getting promoted and then it culminates, right?
Or you aren't getting promoted if you do promotions like I do in some of my campaigns.
Yes.
And
Or
then
you're still on the
10,
lowest rank in year 9.
And then in year 10 you peacefully retire. No,
right.
That never happens. So
you have
there's
to try
that
really hard not to get promoted throughout the whole time.
No, I'm joking. I don't think I've gone the entire time with 0.
At some point,
I'm not sure if it's possible, but it probably is.
At some point, like some of the cards actually have, if you haven't been promoted by now, be promoted.
Right.
They take pity on you. They're like, here you go.
Yeah.
So you tell a linear story with the, what is that, career deck?
The career events.
A linear-ish story.
Yeah,
And then you
it's
have
not really linear. You have like your touchstone
right
at points. I won't say more than that, but yeah, I wouldn't call it linear really.
But there's an arc. I guess like
I think what you mean is it's a clear progression.
Yeah, like progressive. Yeah,
it's clear when you're early years versus middle years versus late years. Yes.
Right. So you have that as like the kind of guts of the game, and then you have these emergent story elements like the personal deck and the stressor deck. That kind of like confetti around the story. So it's like, you have your donut, then you have your sprinkles. So like you have your core progression, but then you have the emergent elements that are kind of sprinkled in. So maybe talk a little bit about how, because you didn't have to do it that way. Like you could have gone one way or the other. So talk about how that whole process developed.
Yeah, I mean, so I really wanted it to be replayable, number one. So I love legacy games. I think they're awesome. So you could definitely see where I sprinkled some of those elements in, but I wanted to do that and yet still keep it replayable. I think that's, especially for a solo game, really important. And so initially, I actually had the personal events the same as the career events, where you had year 1 personal event and year 2 and like that. And what I found as I was designing and developing it was like the personal events kind of could happen anytime in your career. So it was like, why am I trying to sort of make these be in a certain time? I could just have, personal events can be just mixed up and you don't have to select one from each year. So it simplified that setup, but it also, like you said, sprinkled in some just like different stuff happening throughout the course of the game. And so, yeah, when you play, you could, in one game, you could get a personal event in the first year, and the next game you may not get it at all, or you may get it late in the career. And so that's kind of how that ended up developing. And then the stressors, honestly, the stressors are probably one of the things I'm most proud of in the game, because it does, in my opinion, I think you guys would agree, successfully it tells you part of the story, but you have to almost fill in the blanks from what's happened already, but it does it in a cohesive manner. So like, for example, I guess gotta be careful with spoilers, but you can get
Make
one.
something up. Just make it up. Like you're
Yeah,
Fluffy the
you can
dog.
get something and it says you're sad, right?
Right.
Because of something that happened in the past, but it doesn't say what that thing is. But then you connect the dots in your mind and go, oh yeah, in year 2, I accidentally hit that dog with my car. Like that was terrible. Like so, and I think that it happens for most people, for most players. That just happens automatically. Like you don't have to sit there and think, why am I sad? It's like snap. Oh yeah, I remember. Like, and so. And that may or may not, usually it's how you got the stressor in the first place. It connects to like, oh yeah, like I got the sad stressor when I accidentally hit that dog, and it comes back and you have a memory about it. And so, and I wanted to do that, and another game that does that really well, and probably I've drawn so much inspiration from this game, but Robinson Crusoe with the deck where you kind of put something back in and it comes back up later. Like I love that, and I think
That's exactly how the stressor deck is. Like
yeah,
the stressor deck is the one that
like connecting things throughout the story. So that's kind of where that came from.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and it's funny. I literally recorded a podcast last night with Peter about emergent storytelling and like how they can kind of come out in games. And yeah, for me, I think it's at its best when you have like these very specific, discrete events, but like they just leave a little bit of connective tissue missing, and then you can fill in the gap, but they're close enough that it's not hard for you to fill in that gap.
Mm-hmm.
So I think you did a really nice job with those decks for sure. Although for me, I don't know if this is how it was for you, Jason. My favorite part about Career, and I definitely mentioned this in my review, was how it filled out the Hostage Negotiator experience for me. And what I mean by that, AJ alluded to this. I play games fast sometimes, maybe too fast. So a game of Hostage Negotiator might be like 10 or 15 minutes. And maybe that's too quick. And maybe it's like not fulfilling enough. Yeah.
I would have put you at 5 minutes, but hey.
Well, yeah, I guess if I go for a risky move and it doesn't work out, that might be possible. But sometimes like how much I lose by or how much I win by, it's just a moment and it goes away. But for me, having the Career framework and like keeping track of which hostages I've lost and those becoming, I love resource management. Those becoming like kind of resources in the telling of my story.
Yeah,
for
like
me,
there's
that
35 hostages,
right?
And if you lose them in one game, that carries over. So then there are events later, like in the later part of your career, which we're not going to. So hard to talk about this product or any kind of legacy product, but like there are ramifications. Like you will have different things happen to you if you lose too many of those hostages. Yes.
Yeah, and so like when I finished my first campaign, I was immediately like, oh man, I want to play another campaign because I wanted to see how things played out more. So it gave the individual games of Hostage Negotiator like this importance that you don't need in a one-off game, but it was really like kind of nice to have. It almost like I could imagine playing regular Hostage Negotiator again, but I don't know if I would want to. Like, why not? Might as well start a new career and like keep track of things as I go. And, even if I don't play like all 10 years in a row, I don't know. That's kind of where I see myself being at this point.
It does bring up something though. Why 10? You could have gone like, like Mike and I, we're dorks for this stuff. Like we played it in one night, but like I was up late. I think I probably, I did it all one night, but I think I started at it's like one of them like 9 to 2 type. Like marathons, because not only am I playing, I'm like looking at the cards, what could I have chosen? I'm doing all this stuff. Why not like break it up and say, okay, here is a three career arc, or like a 3 thing arc. Like I think Aeon's End made that choice. Like so Legacy was like a big thing and it was okay, but then the New Age comes out and it's like, okay, here's a campaign of 3 games and you could bang it out in a night and you feel really good. Was that something like that a consideration, or like longer or short? I just wanted to know your thinking behind why 10.
I mean, first off, that's kind of when I do it. That's kind of how I do it. Is how you said. I'll play like 3 years in a session. I think that's a good.
Yeah.
You could play 3 years in, 1.5, 2 hours probably, and some maybe even faster, depending if you have a negotiation in a year or not. But a lot of what I had to do with career, because of how I planned the product and how it had to fit in a base game Hostage Negotiator size box, even though we went like a touch taller, because I needed as you guys probably know when you opened it, I mean, there's no wasted space in the
It's a
box.
heavy box.
So I was constrained. That was actually one of the biggest challenge, was not going outside of the constraints that I essentially had created for myself before I even started designing it. Like, I knew that I had to fit everything in that box. So that was challenging. And I picked, 10 years, I guess you could say it was picked because it's kind of a round number.
This box.
Yeah, that's the crime wave box. And so ever since that came out, you had that extra space in the well where a career was going to sit.
Yeah. The podcast does have no idea what's going on. I tune into Shelf Stories. You'll see everything.
Yeah, Jason is now holding up the box to show how it all fits.
Yeah,
And so I have
Jason,
Career in the well, and then I have the base Hostage Negotiator in the well, and then the rest of the boxes like the cards and all that kind of thing.
So beautiful how it fits all together.
It is toot your own horn, AJ. You did a good job.
It's just like 5 years,
I'm
7 years of
proud
design
that.
work.
Like,
Yeah, this is
I
awesome.
conceived that whole thing when we made Career, and like I had to think about like, okay, where am I taking this? And like, at that point, like Hostage was successful, and like, I knew there wasn't a huge risk of like never finishing it. So that's something I wouldn't have done if that was the first launch of a product necessarily. But anyway, yeah. So 10 years. I mean, it was a nice round number. I felt like 10 or so negotiations was a good number. I didn't want it to be where you played against every single abductor in a career. And so, but that gets it where you're going to see half or more, probably 8 to 10, or 8 or 9, 8, 10, 9, 10. And then you go play the next game and you can see, or next career, and you can see totally different abductors, or some the same, some different. And so it just really made sense. And I didn't want the campaign to be too long, because I don't know about you guys, but you guys probably don't have a problem, but it's challenging for me to finish campaign games sometimes.
Dude, it's worse for us because of all the things we have to do.
Yeah, because you're jumping. That's true.
I've reviewed, I think 80 games this year, so now it's very very tough for me to cover.
A good podcast year, I'll get it about between 80 and 100 games.
So yeah, I mean, this is the thing. Even for those of us that play games all the time, and I wanted it to be very finishable. And I would rather have had it be shorter and you can play multiple campaigns than a long one that you played half of it and then never went back to it.
Mm-hmm. Right. And so did you consider like the even shorter one, like the Career in a Night, or like, the day, like, I don't know, like, I mean, you just like, I don't know, like an episode of 24. So like, 24 would have the 3 acts. So like you'd have the one, then the boss would change, and then the big boss would come. So you kind of have one season, one tight season that you can play in literally like 2 hours. Was that a consideration, or was this the vision and you believe?
Yeah, that wasn't really a consideration, just because of kind of all the things we talked about up to this point. I didn't have a luxury of where I could do it in like packs or different boxes. Like, It just needed to fit, needed to all come into one box.
When also stuff we'll talk about in the spoiler section, I know you need to have, I think, a proper build up to things that do things. I think if it was like if the same stuff happened, but it was a 5 scenario like campaign, it wouldn't really have the same impact.
Yeah.
I'll leave that. That's
So
all I'll say.
So no, I mean, it's a fair question, but I never really thought about it being shorter or doing shorter, sort of like episodic type stuff.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Actually, I want to go back to the whole emergent versus like narrative, or laid out progressed narrative, we'll say. Linear is a bad word because you do have choices. You have the little viewfinder. So like, if you don't know, the cards have 2 choices. Every single card that you do has 2 choices. You can always viewfind one of them. And for the most part, they lead to manipulation of your stats. Right. I mean, it's not like it's going to be hugely, like now all of a sudden you're like a beat cop in Chicago, and now all of a sudden you're mostly a hostage negotiator, but then there's like wrinkles here and there. So I don't know if it was always successful in terms of like the emergent elements smoothly folding into like the narrative. So I gave the example, and again, I made this up in the review of like you're in year 8 and like things are really popping, and then you get a personal event of like, okay, you walk Sadie O'Grady's dog across the street. Do you, take her all the way to the bus, or do you just leave her there? So then that will be a personal event that comes out. So like every once in a while, you'll get that real disjunction.
Yeah, I mean, it could happen. I would say the ones that I look back at that bother me probably the most. So there's some that you could just have like a horrible negotiation, and you may get something that says like, "Oh, you've had a great year," like the
Exactly. Yeah.
chief's like patting you on the back, and like those when that happens, I'm kind of like, "Oh man," but like, it's fine. Like you could abstract like, "Oh, I did other things in the other 6 months of my job, right? That were like." We're good, and that's where I hope that
Or they're just pity pats, like
Yeah.
the team has seen you like sneaking the flask out of your drawer, and they're like really worried about you. So they're like, "Hey, we really appreciate you, Jason. You're doing a great job."
Yeah. So I mean, the personal events are always meant to be a little bit sort of outside of your career. Like they're always meant to be. It could just be you're walking down the street with your dog and something happens. It's just meant to be as sort of. It's meant to show, hey, you're not a hostage negotiator all the time. Like other stuff's happening in your life, and guess what? Like those things can impact your career, and vice versa. Like the stuff that happens on your job can impact your personal life. So I wanted this sort of they are related in that way, in that the stress from one can sort of affect the other. But you can definitely have something that feels like, oh wow, the story is taking me this way, and then like this is kind of over here. And I guess I give myself a little bit of hand wave because like it's gonna be like just the way the system's set up, it's gonna be extremely hard to like make everything just feel like 100% connected.
Yeah, I mean, I guess the alternative would have been what you played with, which was tier the personal decks and tier the stressor decks, and like everything could have been tiered, but that I guess you said it kind of felt a little bit constraining. Would that be a good one?
Well, yeah, and you actually get more variety this way. Like it's the career event deck's job. It's that deck's job to have the progression, and you even kind of called it out yourself. And the personal deck's job is to sprinkle different things in as you're going.
Right.
And so whether that works 100% of the time, sure, you'll have moments where it might be weird, but I think it works the majority of the time.
Do you have any of those record scratch moments there, Mike, or were you so into it that you didn't feel it?
I mean, I don't know if this is sacrilege for like the solo community, but I love narrative and I like emergent narrative, but I've been playing,
But
I've been doing role playing for like, decades now. I've been doing like choose your own adventure games and books since I was like 6 years old. So I've seen so many narratives. When I sit down to play a board game, in the end, like if I'm not making interesting choices and if like stuff isn't happening because of my choices and I'm not like managing stuff, that's when I get taken out. So yeah, like I know it's a game. I've designed games. I'm like, one of our games we're working on right now has like a branching campaign with choices and stuff, and I know how it goes. So no, I didn't. If it happened, I immediately was like, whatever, just moved on.
Yeah.
Okay, that's fair. Okay, so then on the mechanism side, man, this is another one. Just spoiler. Well, what I will say is that you did. Okay, so I will say this. You said that you were inspired by Legacy, and that kind of that model. And Legacy isn't only the stickies. Legacy is also boxes. So you're gonna see that when you first open the thing, there are sub boxes and little envelopes. And if you know Van Ryder products, there are envelopes all over the box. Not just in this product, but in multiple products. My copy of the Big Score, I was very happy to lift the insert. there's more stuff in there. So as an example, what's that?
It's just such a fun thing to find something hidden you didn't know was there.
So there is that. So there are the surprise, and you definitely kind of borrow that from Legacy with your own twist. But it's such a small game, right? And it's such a compact design. was that a challenge to put to put enough in there that was new and satisfying for the player? Did you feel that design constraint? Did that hold you back from maybe more surprises that you had in store?
I definitely felt the constraint. But I also feel like I got everything in there that I wanted to.
Okay.
So, which I didn't know if I was going to be able to do. There would have, I originally would have done. There would have been probably as many personal cards as there were career events, but that couldn't happen. But other than that, I mean, I got in there. I think about what I wanted to. Of course, I mean, if I didn't have the constraints, like I would have, scope creep definitely would have set in, and I would have like probably threw some more stuff in there. But I think it's probably better for it that I didn't. So
I wonder what this product would look like let's say it was like a hit app, right? Or a hit computer Steam game or something like that. You can literally dump in anything you want in that kind of space. App developers of board games will say like, oh, I could do all this extra stuff.
yeah.
Now, and is that something that you kind of in the back of your mind wish, or is this like the completed product? And let's move on.
This is yes and yes. So this is the completed product, but I'm 98% sure there will be something else I will do for Hostage. So, and the most likely scenario is that there will be another finale pack, most likely, at a minimum. So those are fun to do, and it keeps it fresh. Like the main story, I think, is pretty fresh, but definitely you guys know. I mean, finale packs, even though they can play out different, when you replay them, it's you know it a little bit. So I definitely want to maybe do an alt finale pack 3. I guess it would be whether that's in it may just be a print and play type thing. We may do an actual pack. I kind of like the idea of just doing a PNP and giving it or charging really cheap for it.
Put it on the BGG store or something.
People can just get it quick and go do it, and it adds that much more to their game.
Mm-hmm.
However, I don't know how many people have actually played it and gone through all the finales. I'm not hearing a ton of calls for more necessarily. So there's that side of it too. Am I doing another finale pack for 50 people? I don't know if that's the best use of my time, but
yeah, I mean, so I think that is all the questions I had for regular career. I mean, this game is awesome. I compared it to Arkham Horror LCG, and favorably.
Yeah,
it rose from Onirim being the comparison to Arkham Horror LCG, which is a really crazy thing to think about. I mean, I don't know. I mean, what do you think, Michael? Is that a good kind of comp? Obviously, Arkham is bigger, but
I see your point. Kind of going back to what I said. My favorite thing is the kind of permanence and the management in a way.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah,
and the
Arkham
failing
LCG,
forward, you're never stuck. Yeah,
Arkham LCG, you always go forward, but you'll have more or less experience. You'll have kind of the scars of what happened to you, and you get that here with the stressors and the permanent whatever might happen. No spoilers. And
yeah.
And then I would say that I mean I don't think I'm not an Onirim master who can play with. Oh, did I freeze for a second?
No, you got it. Go keep going.
I'm not an Onirim master like Jason who can play every single mod all at once and just make it work. But I would say Onirim, even base game to base game, felt a little more random to me than Hostage Negotiator base. But I see what you mean there. It's a little moment. You play through it. You're like, yep. And you can play it again in 10 minutes. And there's nothing wrong with that. I like those kind of games, but it's almost like filler status. And this elevates it beyond filler status. So yeah, I mean, I see what you mean. It kind of gains some of that Arkham swagger with the campaign mode.
Yeah. One of the things I wanted to say earlier, Mike, when you were talking about how it kind of brings everything together and one of the things I wanted to make sure that it did was it, by virtue of you continuing even when you lose, I think that helps a lot.
Yeah.
Because hostages, a lot of people find it extremely difficult.
Oh yeah.
And so
Lieutenant Jackson, man, I am 0-75 against Lieutenant Jackson.
Really
Is
hard.
garbage.
It's really hard.
Too many people to save.
So I think that by virtue of like you can lose every game in career and you're still going to get a pretty good story out of it. So like unless you're just like die hard, like competitive, like all I care about is winning, I think career really elevates the experience because there's still things for you to sort of feel good about that happen within the career, even if you're losing negotiations.
Yeah, and I'll say I think your kind of fail forward version is more consistently fun than Arkham can be, because if you lose like 6 negotiations in a row, you're not really at that much of a disadvantage for number 7. Like you're in a similar spot. You might have missed some opportunities, but in Arkham, your character's like got 2 sanity and 1 health when they start the next scenario. 0 experience. They're fighting like gods from beyond the beyond, and that's fine. That's what the theme's supposed to be, but it's not necessarily joyous. It's like, oh, we lost on turn 2 because we're all shambling corpses at this point. So it's definitely a friendlier campaign for sure.
Yeah.
Okay. So that was Hostage Negotiator career. I think both Mike and I both highly recommend it. And we're not just kissing AJ's butt because AJ published Mike's game, and we all love AJ and we love his games. All that. we totally believe in this product, and I liked Hostage Negotiator the entire. Actually, I lied. I hated the Hostage Negotiator when I first played it. I hated it. I was like, what? How many blank faces on the dice? And then you learn to play. You learn how to play cards face down for your compensation points. Huge part of the game that people kind of like have to get over. And then you learn how to play and it just becomes a pleasure. And then career ties everything together. So kudos to you. Non-spoiler kudos to you. So I think we can end that right here. Unless you have anything that you would like to add about as a little capper on the thing.
I mean, just thanks for sticking with it, because I think a lot of players that are new to the game, they get to that point and they don't look at it a little deeper and ask like, hey, is there something I could be doing differently? As much as like we even try to point to those things in the rule book and like, hey, this is really important, it just still happens. And that's the biggest complaint of the game still, is that people feel that there's too much luck. It's a risk management game, so obviously I disagree. I think there's a lot of tactics and strategy there, and I think that if you stick with it like you did, Jason, and you're not the only one. I mean, there have been people like they absolutely hated it, and then the light bulb clicks and they figure it out, and they enjoy it a lot more.
My journey was similar too. I wouldn't say I ever hated it, but I was like, this is okay. And I think I was borrowing a friend's copy, and I was like, yeah, I played this 4 times. Here you go. You can have it back.
Well, I will stick with that word because I'm a counselor and I've done crisis counseling. And so I haven't done hostage negotiation, but I've done crisis counseling, people who are in distress. And it's like, I wanted this game to be something, because I'll never get a game about that. And this is the closest that I'll ever get. And then getting it to the table and then rolling all those zeros and not knowing, like constantly reveal demand. I got to reveal demand first turn. Has to happen every single time. Otherwise, I'm going to lose. And it's like things like getting into those early traps was definitely a struggle. But then you helped me actually in the podcast that we did. And then, sticking with it and seeing the abductor packs, like how they unfolded. I loved Gonzalo Herrera. Just like the way that I think he's abductor number 4. Actually, it was the Peterson twins were very fun because they were inspired by Die Hard, clearly. And then the number 4 pack, so I got them pretty early, and getting those to the table really helped because then that really mixed up gameplay. There's more here type thing. So
Mike's wife illustrated that pack too. So that's
right. The Peterson twins,
fun Easter egg there.
Dolph and Lulf or whatever their names are.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, at the end of the day, this is like it started off as like a filler card and dice game. And just the fact that you were able to kind of get as far as you did off of a card and dice game engine, like, I mean, we're giving you a lot of crap about it and everything, but like I think just the fact that you were able to kind of squeeze that fruit, and I don't think every card game has it. Like I couldn't imagine like Onirim Career,
I mean, I already try to ignore like all the flavor text they write about that world anyway. It's like, oh, and the
Right.
dreams are swirling in the
The
doors.
incubate and the song day and
Yeah, it's
all.
like, man, I
Oh,
don't care.
Yeah.
What's this icon? That's that
right.
good.
It's
Yeah.
also, I mean, it's not really something people do. Like you don't make a game. I'm weird, right? Like I work backwards, I guess, but like no one makes a game and then, oh, let's like go through all this like story in it where it wasn't there before. But like here, that was actually what made kind of the most sense to do. Because I mean, it requires so much stuff, as you know, and you covered that in your video, Jason. Like, it's not a like the entry fee for Hostage is super low,
Right.
but if you want career, I mean, and it was always made for people who love the game. Like, I don't expect anyone that doesn't like the game to think, oh, career's gonna like make me love this game now.
Which honestly, Pandemic Legacy did that. Like bang that, like there was so many people. I think I made the point of video where like I will not play Pandemic. I just don't like it. But Pandemic Legacy added enough
Yeah.
where it's fun, the stickers, the story, the twists and turns, the things that happen. And maybe I kind of want to head that off where it's like maybe people think career is the thing that'll make me love this game, and I don't think it plays out the same way.
I mean, it did for me.
I think if you're lukewarm on it, it definitely, I mean, I think most people would agree that it improves the experience.
Yeah.
However, if you're just like a mechanics first person and like you don't like a lot of people just can't wrap their heads very well around risk management and like, maybe I don't need to play a card here and maybe I shouldn't roll for this now and keep this
AKA
card.
luck. Is that what you're talking about, AJ?
It just doesn't work that way. And like super smart people and like, these are like, they can kill you at an engine building game. They can see out like 10 turns ahead. But like this tactical decision right here is just like owning me. Like there's just some people like, and I'm almost the opposite. Like I'm very tactical thinker. Like I'm not great at like engine builders, man. Like I just like, I'm too focused on the here and now, I guess. But all that to say, like, I mean, it's kind of intentional, right? Like, and I'm not trying to, at this point, like, his career is certainly not trying to change anyone's mind. And so, but the good news is, I mean, the fans and the people that love the game, like you guys have really like enjoyed it, and it's
Yeah.
with few exceptions, but it's been well received, it seems.
Cool. And you got more, like, and this is the last chapter of that book. And now you have, Final Girl, which is coming out. And I mean, I see all the packs that are for it. I mean, you're insane to
it's kind of a beast. It's been a lot of fun. I'm excited to see how that one's going to be received. I know Mike got to preview it, so he's a fan, I think.
I mean, yeah.
I mean, wait till you get the whole thing, man. I'm excited.
I mean, dude, just like the stuff you were like adding during the dang campaign. It's like the
Yeah.
freaking birds. I'm like, what the hell?
Yeah. Oh man. And like we did so much writing in like the lore and scenario book. And like we're gonna have a web app for like make your own Final Girl where you can go, slap whatever, your photo or your favorite character from something on there and make your own card. So it's gonna be a cool experience for folks.
Cool. All right. Well, if you made it this far and you either played through the story and you're enjoying it, or you just feel like watching this, you don't really have that attachment to it. Thank you so much for to the audience for traveling along. Thank you so much, Michael. This is a school night, so always thankful that you are able.
And I'm running our first digital debate of the year tomorrow. I still have to make all the schematics, but whatever, it's fine.
And doing a million playthroughs and talking to a million designers, and you need more sleep, man. Self-care. That's the big thing.
Yeah, no, you're right. I'll try to go to bed after I'm done working with Peter on some design stuff. And Mr. AJ Porfirio from Van Ryder Games, who has hopefully whet your appetite not only for the sales and the deals on the Van Ryder website, but also Final Girl and products beyond.
Yes.
You have intimated that there are other things coming from the pike. I always ask the publisher. They never tell me, so I'm not even going to bother.
Well, I mean, I'm going to shout out because I covered the graphic novel Adventures Series 3. That's really good. Something there for everybody. Like, you might not love every title, but you're gonna like at least one of them.
Mhm.
And big thing, I've opened it, but I haven't played it yet, AJ. But I just got my what is it?
Oh, Smoke and
I
Mirrors.
got it. It's like sitting right next to my my Smoke and Mirrors, like Detective City of Angels. Gosh darn, that game is fun.
Yeah, and
I
that's
still need to get
actually
that to the table. I still haven't played it.
Well,
that's a good-
here's what you need. Okay, here's what I need, AJ. Your next project. So add some career cards where you just wash out of the hostage negotiator force and time travel, and you end up in like film noir time, like as a detective, and you play a City of Angels case, and then you come
Yeah.
back. That'd be awesome.
Or
Yes.
like Brandon Sanderson does with his books, where it's like it's all the series, but then there's like a Casimir thing where it's like all the games are in one universe and you can kind of travel between them. I think that might be beyond, just a hair beyond.
And fit
Yeah.
it all in one hostage negotiator box.
Right.
Just
And I'm glad you brought up Detective because actually, even though we kickstarted a while back, it was what we called a VRG Select title that we didn't put through retail distribution. But we've changed the strategy. We've communicated all the backers, and it's actually coming out in retail
Nice.
on November 23rd, which is, I guess, it'll be in the past once this goes out. But so that is going to be more widely available for folks to pick up if they're interested. And then, yeah, we've got some other things. There's another thing we may announce between now and by the time this goes up. But it's a game that's not going to go to Kickstarter. It's going to go straight to through normal retail channels. So I'm excited about that one. That's a game I've designed, and it's I think it's an awesome product. So I can't say anything else past that yet, but there will be an announcement on that soon.
I hope you all enjoyed that shelf story. Thank you very much for joining us. This is Jason reminding you, if you can change your mind, you can change the world. So until next time, later, everybody.
See ya. Thanks, Jason.
All right, so we are going to end the regular podcast here, and we are going to cut to a spoiler wall. So if you don't want to know anything about Career, and you want to just actually go get the product, it's available on the Van Vider game store and places near you.
All right. Now the real fun begins.
We are now in the spoiler section. Hopefully, I remember to put in giant like walls of stuff and noises and buzz. Woo! Woo!
Yeah.
AJ, what the hell?
What, you didn't like my ending?
Oh, God. I was so mad. I was so mad.
I already knew what it was.
I was so okay. So I was so into it. I think then I get to year 5. I'm just playing on the app. I'm having a good time. Whatever. I get to year 5 and it's like, okay, lift the box. And I had, because I filmed the Crime Wave review and I knew you had something under, so I knew there was something in there, but I hadn't played it. It just like looked interesting. I knew there was something in there. So then it's like, okay, year 5. Okay, play this thing that's a secret. So the Crime Wave box, you open it, you get Sicko. And then the Sicko thing is like just you really blow out the mechanisms, right? You're using the conversation points to travel, and you're using save the save things to kind of to search rooms, and it's like whoa, this is so cool. And you're playing that in the flow of Career, awesome. And then the way that the Career deck arcs up in tension, they're like, now, you're having this going on. Valerie sticks her nosy head in and she's doing her thing. I was so into it. And I know people, I'm going towards the end, but I have to, this is why I got in touch with AJ people. Talking to you out there in YouTube land. You get to the straight ending.
Yep.
And it is 17 different varieties of I am Sicko.
Yeah.
That's how it felt. That's how. So go ahead and I will let you go
which
ahead and
one
explain.
did you get? Like, which one did you really get?
The very first one. Well, the very first one. I got to be the Tin Man.
Yeah, that's the best ending. So
Right.
that is like you won or like you got the best ending.
Yeah, I kind of got on a virtuous cycle of like, once you go get good, and then I opened up like some of the good dice, and I had the good
Yeah.
conversation cards. And you get like, because I guess playing the app, I played Edwin Quinn, I beat him. I played Donna Scarborough, I beat her. And then like I get kind of ahead of the game, and I felt like I was in a good spot. And I'm the Tin Man, but it's like I don't want to be the Tin Man. I'm a,
Well, so
okay. So
the Tin Man is actually a secret promo card that I just did one day, and I for a long time I like wanted to say thank you, I guess, to all of the how it came about was I wanted to say thank you to everyone on BGG who had rated Hostage a 10. It told me they loved the game, they're a huge fan, and so I made the Tin Man, but without telling them why they were getting it, I got their information and I sent it to them all. So like it was almost like a little bit like a very small like ARG type thing, like, and they were like, I put a little message in it, like hinted at why, what this was, and they were all like trying to figure it out. It was awesome. Like it was so cool. And so I was like, I loved it. And like, I made it though that you can never buy that car, at least not from Vanguard. Hopefully no one ever sells it secondhand.
What I sent them the email. Hopefully I get mine relatively
So
soon.
you have to earn it. And how you earn it up before career was like, I would do little games like that. Like I would go, okay, here's the thing, you got to figure out what to do. And like people would scramble, and I'd be like the first 10 people to do it. And so 10 people would do it, and they'd get it. And people would be like, oh, when's the next chance? When can we get this? And so I was like, okay, like people really like this. And like, I know how big of completionists people are. So, like, I'm going to put a way to get this card in career.
Right.
And so because trying to answer 5,000 career backers on, why they're not getting this card, having to face that mob was something I just didn't want to do. So by putting it in there, I could say, okay, there's a way for you to get it in the product. You just have to play the product. Like I'm not telling them how. A few people were even frustrated by that because they didn't want to have to like go figure it out or find it or get it through the.
So people were actually like where's the Tin Man type thing?
Oh yeah, there's there's a thread on BGG where it was like causing real anxiety for someone. I was like, hey, look, like I don't want this to like cause you anxiety. Like if that's the case, like here, message me and like we'll figure it out. Like I don't like I completionist is one thing to me. That's a whole nother thing. But I mean, that's a real thing for someone, and I don't want that. That's not what it's about. It's meant to be a fun thing that you can earn. And like, I mean, how many games can you find a card in there that you earn and the publisher sends it to you? Like I thought that was like a super cool thing. So anyway, that's the real ending, and that's where essentially you cast out that, clearly you in my story, like I made it where you have a multiple personality and you don't know about it until that very end moment. So in that moment you overcome, and like Sicko is gone forever. And yes, you have to deal with the oh crap, like I took my spouse, like I did all these things, like, and I wanted you to have that moment, and I get like I knew a lot of people are gonna hate it, and that's fine. Like I'm totally good with it. I actually was like worried because like none of my playtest group hated it, and I was like, man, no one needs to hate this. Like it's not as good as I want it to be if no one hates it. But yeah,
AJ, I hated it.
I mean that's fine. I mean, a lot of people have, and that's
I
fine.
guess like, okay, so maybe this was impossible to do because of a lot of reasons. Like, the career is kind of the culmination of stuff. It's trying to get together things as opposed to kind of like being there all the time. And like, I guess like I didn't feel like there was enough crumbs in there.
There are definitely crumbs in there. Whether they're subtle sometimes, and subtle sometimes they're not. Definitely in the ending cards, there's like a very specific one in there that is a huge clue. All right, I think you ask who's like, you get to ask Sicko, like, who is he really? And like he says something like, who am I? Who are you? Or like something like it. The crumbs are there, or at least I tried to make the crumbs there. But there's even stuff further up in the career. Now, you may not get some of those cards because, like, that's obviously random. But, and I even did some, if you played the mini career during the Kickstarter, which was like completely separate, I actually put some clues in that even. So, like, but I mean, you don't know what you're looking for. So, like, I don't hold it against anyone. But I think if you go back and play it, you might see some of those.
It's like Fight Club.
They're not like slamming you over the head. Like, okay, you could. I didn't want you to totally see the ending coming. Like that. I feel like that would have been even worse. Like if you like got to it and you were like not surprised and you were like, yeah, I saw that coming.
Yeah, I was Sicko the whole time. Yeah, I guess like I'm sorry because Mike, you played the alternate pack, right? You didn't even get to this.
Well, yeah. So here's my experience, because I remember, AJ, when I was like talking to you when I was reviewing the game, and I was like, "Hey, I finished," and you were like, "So what'd you think of the ending?" I was like, "Oh, it was really cool. Like I really almost became chief of police," and you were like, "Oh, yeah, no, that is pretty cool."
Yeah. You played the alternate, and that's fine. And here's the thing too, like each of the alternates exist in its own parallel universe. So you're not Sicko in those other finales, like, and you never were. So like, it's not this thing where like you should always hold on to like, is that how it always is? It's completely not the case in the other ones. So the thing is, the world is fluid. Like, I guess if that makes sense. Like a new career, Sicko is completely some third party. If you play one of the alternate finale packs, and it has nothing to do with it.
Yeah, your door is slowly creeping open. I don't know if there's
What are you doing? No, go.
I thought it might be a sneaky child.
They're supposed to be in bed. Go. I'm serious.
Podcast listeners, go ahead and turn over to Shelf Story's YouTube channel to check out AJ's son who has snuck into his room.
Hey, now you know why I come up with all these stories.
Yeah, what I was going to say is my experience is so different because I played the alternate finale and thought it was great, like really loved it. And then Jason was talking to me in advance of this, and he was like, "Oh my God, I hated the ending where you're Sicko." And I'm so like, mad. "Oh, wait, what am I? Who am I again?" So then I played through again to prep for this, and I thought it was great, but I don't know how I would have felt if that was the experience. You know what I mean? Like knowing it was coming and being like, "Ooh, something totally different. How can I swing this?" I thought it was totally cool, but yeah, I can't recapture. It is like seeing spoilers that these movies have spoiler endings. It is seeing something like The Sixth Sense or Fight Club or The Usual Suspects or Boys Don't Cry, or whatever, like seeing any of those. And if somebody tells you beforehand, you'd be like, that was very artistically interesting, but you don't know like what your original visceral reaction.
I get why like the lawful good folks feel like you pulled the rug out from under, because they want
yes, thank you.
They want this like, I'm this great negotiator, like I have all these accolades, and they want to stand on the medal stand. They want the chief to put the medal on their neck, and it's just not what I wanted to do.
So, I feel like okay. I mean, I got the feeling. So you mentioned a bunch of movies, right? Mass Effect, the original trilogy from the video game was. I mean, the end. So that's what happened, right? So like they gave you this whole idea of like you have all these choices. It worked out similar to yours, right? I don't know if you've played the video game at all, but it's like the Paragon Path and the Renegade Path. So your choices weren't as moral. But in that video game, you like 10, 12 times in the game, you'd have this like huge fork in the road choices, and they would affect the game, right? And that was like the big promise, was like your choices will like make this whole big ending, and you'll be able to kind of tell your story. And then by the time Mass Effect 3 comes around, different dev team, different vision, different story, and it ended up just being like the same ending but 3 different colors, and it was just like you took that from me. I wanted to make my thing, and you took it from me.
I hear you, but I think you're using the wrong analogy, because Mass Effect 3 was literally the same ending, 3 different colors.
Right.
And another one that I love and also hate at the same time is a lot of the Telltale video games.
With the magician's choices, yeah.
Yeah, like these fake choices, but you get railroaded to the same thing at the end. I would compare this more. Spoilers again. This is just a massive spoiler.
We're in the spoiler territory.
Yeah. If anybody's played Knights of the Old Republic, either of you played that?
Yeah, I didn't finish it, but I played it. Yeah.
Okay. Well, sorry, I'm spoiling you guys too. Then, so
yeah, it's fine.
Do it, man. It's Star Wars. I could not care less.
At the end of Knights of the Old Republic, or near the end, it's revealed that you were a Sith Lord the entire time who lost your memory. So you were this mass murderer, you were this evil person, and nothing you do will change that. The story that they set out with from the beginning was that you are this mass murderer and you have done terrible things in the past.
Yeah.
But at the end, you still get to determine your fate, and you can continue to be that mass murderer, or you can become a better person. So I think, I didn't look through all the endings like it sounds like you did, Jason. I just kind of took my one sicko ending. But
yeah, I mean, and there's my favorite one is actually the alternate choice on that final card where you actually think you're taking sicko in.
Yeah.
And you get in there and everyone's jaws drop. You turn around looking for him, and he's not there, and they cuff you, and that's it. That's my favorite. But I mean, a couple of the endings in that one, if you don't do well in the finale, you can not have that spoiled for you. I think there's one where you just kill yourself because sicko just completely outplayed you, but it doesn't necessarily tell you you don't get that. So there's no one I've heard of yet really that hasn't looked at the other endings kind of a natural thing.
Yeah, if you get that far, and it has all the branches.
It's natural, but my intent was, if you get that and you don't look, you could still get the surprise later. But yeah.
Actually, okay, so I will admit that the natural ending, that was the ending I got, was I turned myself, because that's the Paragon choice, right? Yeah. The Paragon choice, the lawful good choice, which is what made me so mad. I did the lawful good choice. I envisioned my Hostage Negotiator as this sterling paragon of whatever. I'm a cheeseball, guys. So just leave me alone. I just love goodness. I'm sorry. I was a theology student. I was almost a priest. So this is just in me. So then I took the lawful good choice. And I was like, oh, and now I'm sicko. And I kind of saw where it was going because of the way the questions were playing out. And, the face-to-face, that's very kind of movie cinematic and it's you're asking yourself. That's a big movie trope. So I'm like, okay, is this where it's going? Really? Oh, wait, I get to take him in. Oh.
Which is the critical, that's the critical apex where it's the game is pointing you to tell him to shoot himself, but that's uncomfortable, right? As a player, man, it's man, I really want to just tell him to kill himself right in front of me, but there are subtle clues that that's actually the right decision, and obviously that's not what happens. He just kind of disappears. But yeah, I mean, I get, it's not my feelings.
I'm mostly playing.
Enjoy the main ending. The other two are totally different, and I think you'll definitely enjoy them.
Mm-hmm. I am getting the finale pack. I think Colin's going to send me over the finale, this alternate finale pack. So I can't wait to appeal into that. And I'll be playing this game for a long time.
Just wait for AJ to release Finale 4, where you are sicko, but then you weren't sicko, and there really is a sicko. Ooh.
Yeah, I can completely just retcon everything, the last Star Wars trilogy did. Just
yeah, dude.
Palpatine is alive for some reason. He's just there. There he is. Dark Force magic. Boo.
Your spouse didn't die. She's back.
Your spouse was sicko the whole time. She kidnapped herself. Right. Boom. There you go.
Has a female clown on. It's what is this female clown doing here? This is terrible.
Bride of Sicko. Oh, that'd be great.
But that honestly, that's the big one. I mean, we could talk more about the envelopes with the replacement cards and the die. That was cool. Because I couldn't I guess again that's a function of playing it fast. And it's a function of playing it into 2 a.m. There was no subtlety happening. I was like, okay, I got to find out what happens.
Yeah.
Right. I actually that's kind of how I read though. I'll read once to get it. and then I'll backfill, and then I'll pick up all the subtle clues. So maybe that's kind of where I got tripped up, was I wanted to just get there. And then I would have filled in on the back end, and I just didn't, I didn't see what was coming. I felt very sucker punched. So
Yeah, I mean, there's not a ton, but there's stuff in there, and you'll probably now notice it when you see it.
Right.
Because I also couldn't be too overt with it, because like if you are playing one of the other finale packs, like that's not even really a thing. So like it had to be subtle enough where it could still, the things that happen could still work even in the situations where you play a different finale and you're not that.
Yeah, and actually that's probably my biggest complaint, different than Jason's complaint, because I didn't mind any of the finales I've played so far. Mission 5, if you're not playing the main finale, feels a little forced. You know what I mean? It's like sort of like this weird thing that kind of pops in and then never gets resolved again. You know what I mean? Like, because
that's fair.
You definitely had a full story with the main finale. And then it's like, sicko, kill my wife. And of course, with me, I suck at Mission 5, so I have not saved my wife once.
Hard.
So freaking hard, man.
That's why they're alternate finales, right? Like, I mean, the ending that you get with it that's my true ending, right? Like, but it's fun to sort of to do.
Yeah, and it's not like a true complaint. It's just
It's fair. It's totally
like
fair.
Things can break. It breaks the immersion a little bit, but whatever. It's still fun.